Hello and welcome to American Mogul. Today we are going to discuss Bitcoin hitting $1 trillion per Bitcoin in the next 10 years or less. So you ask yourself, what is he talking about? How? Quite simple. The basement of the money supply. We have just witnessed in 2020 an increase of the base money supply by 25% over all the money ever existing since 1913 when Federal Reserve was created. Now, you ask yourself, yeah, but $1 trillion of Bitcoin? Well, think about it. There are two countries we are going to use as an example. Obviously, you know the first one, Zimbabwe, yeah, and more recently, Venezuela. What can we glean from the money printing scenario in those two countries? Well, if you consider a hyperinflation each one is in, Bitcoin in Zimbabwe dollars, if they didn't lop off up-teen amounts of zeros off their currency on a regular basis, would be in the quadrillions of Zimbabwe dollars. You've seen the pictures and videos of people in Zimbabwe holding bricks of $1 trillion bills. Yeah. Venezuela, same thing. Lesser extent, but they are selling empanadas and wrapping them in 10,000 Bolivar notes, which is their local currency. And if we look at February 4, 2018, which was the day before Venezuela reset their currency, yeah? A cup of coffee was 10 cents for a cup of coffee. Venezuela is rich with cocoa bean, yeah? Coffee bean, whatever it's called. Now, recently, a cup of coffee in Venezuela hit 2 million Bolivar. That is an increase in 2 years of 20 million%. So, if you take the current price of Bitcoin and money printing continues to accelerate at the rate it's going, yeah, in actually 2 years, Bitcoin could be $1 trillion, yeah? It's almost 50,000 now. 20 million% increase, you got $1 trillion, basically. I'm saying 10 years or less because, this is what's going to happen. There have been 3 stimulus packages so far. Yeah. There was a 2.2 trillion, yeah. Then a 900 billion, and now roughly a 2 billion stimulus package. So in about a year, there has been 5 trillion stimulus package by the government, fiscal stimulus. But how many trillions did the Federal Reserve create out of their monetary policy? 10 times that. 10 times. Yeah? Because at one point, Federal Reserve was doing $1 trillion a day to shore up the markets. And we've been in this thing almost a year. think about how much money has been shoved into the system. You know, assets, core assets, react to the base monetary supply in unison. Yeah. If you look at the stock market, if you look at housing, if you look at Bitcoin, because I consider Bitcoin a core asset, and wages. Wages are a core asset. To a family, that is the wages you earn are a core asset. Okay, those are four major food groups, yeah, when you're talking about core assets. So, if you look, base money supply increased by 25%, not from the bottom in March, but from around where it was before this whole thing started. Stock market on average around the world, they're up 20-25%. Same in money supply. Home prices are up 20-25%. Same as the base money supply. Wages are up 20. And you ask yourself, how is it possible? Well, the stimulus checks, unemployment and the stimulus checks are more than what people were making. So they actually got a pay raise, right? And then Bitcoin, from its all-time high, is up 100%. You can measure stuff all along the graph, but from its high in 2018 to now, it's up a little over 100%. And that there's some speculation involved in that, right? I think it's adjusting not just to the base money supply, but other factors around the world. Yeah. But it is a leading indicator. Now, what is going to happen after this stimulus, whether it's 1.5 trillion or 2 trillion, we'll be closer to 2 trillion. Is stimulus going to stop? Because they say, you know, build back better, economy getting better, reopening the economy. I don't think so. Because at some point, the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions is going to end. Yep. And then what's going to happen? When tens of millions of people are thrown out into the street, homeless. I don't know about you, but I don't think as stupid as I think politicians are, and as ignorant as I think the Federal Reserve is, because they're all a bunch of imbeciles. They're all a bunch of narcissistic imbeciles. Okay, I said my piece. And there will be a fourth stimulus. Yeah. How much is that stimulus going to be? With unemployment where it is, I think it's going to be close to $5 trillion or more. Yeah, because every time you stimulate, that $1 of stimulus produces less of an impact. That's why they went 2.2 trillion, yeah, then 900 billion, and realized, oh, not enough. And now they went going 2 trillion. So if you really think about it, in the period of time between second stimulus and third stimulus, that really like a $3 trillion stimulus, yeah, because there's a short span between them. So 2 went to 3, because they don't want to say 3 trillion, because people will start to say, well, wait a minute, how is everything getting better but you're stimulating more? But next stimulus, they can't hide anything. It is going to be 5 trillion or more. What is that going to do to Bitcoin? Where money base is debased another 5 trillion. And we are talking about March, April, May. In that period of time, there will be another $5 trillion stimulus to keep the human crisis that's going to be homelessness when the moratoriums end on evictions and foreclosures from happening. Bitcoin going to go 100,000, maybe 150, 200,000. Yeah. So you have to ask yourself, if you see this coming, you see it coming out. There could be some fluctuations. But you say to yourself, okay, so now they do a $5 trillion plus stimulus to prevent a human crisis of homelessness. What's going to be the next stimulus? Because there are going to be no jobs. You're going to come in with the wide-body B-52 bombers dropping cash on people. The next one's going to have to be 10 trillion or more. Right? So, what can happen when it's 8, 9, 10 trillion in the next stimulus package coming to a theater near you within the next 6 months to a year? No? Because nobody is going to be safe if they allow these evictions to happen. Because there will be a public outcry like you have never seen before. Yeah? People are going to realize, hey, this economy is not good. It's going to rattle financial markets. As soon as it rattles financial market, stimulus. Yeah, they don't care about you and me. Right? They care about their buddies, the big banks, big institutions. The central banks and government only care about them. They don't care about you. But that type of loss of confidence can cost them and their friends some cash out of their pantalones, and they don't want anyone getting near the pockets of their pantalones. So now, after that $5 trillion stimulus, roughly, to keep tens of millions of people from going homeless, which whatever it takes to keep people and families together and people housed, I agree with. I mean, you cannot allow this thing to happen. Bitcoin gonna go between 150 to 250,000. Now, when they stimulate the next time, yeah, 8 trillion, 9 trillion, 10 trillion, where Bitcoin gonna go? 500,000 to 1 million. And you think that's gonna solve the problem? You think that money printing ever solve a problem? Ask Zimbabwe, ask Venezuela, ask the hundreds of countries around the world and through the history of mankind that have tried this money printing fiasco, yeah, and you will see, or they will tell you, it never ends well. It never ends well. So you have 4 food groups, 4 asset classes, 4 critical assets to your well-being. Right? This is how I would rank them. Land, yeah, either vacant land or residential, real estate, yeah. Bitcoin, yeah. Now with Bitcoin, I put gold and silver in that mix because it's insurance against the nut jobs at the Fed and in government. Then stock market, Cause you think stock market gonna crash? Not a chance. Not a chance. Look at the stock markets of these countries that have printed unlimited amounts of currency. They go to not the moon, not Mars, Jupiter and beyond. You might get a dip here, a dip there, but the stock market going to infinity. Yeah? Because the basement of money supply, it just correlates, right? And then your income. If you have a job, right? That is a core asset, like the other core assets that I was talking about. If you have a job, it is a precious commodity, because before this all said and done, the amount of unemployment is going to be astronomical. That's why this domino effect of once you start to stimulate, you can't stop, right? Once you start lowering interest rates, you cannot stop. It's a debt-based system, and there are only 4 core assets that can fight that system. Yeah. Number 1, real estate, vacant land, and residential. Number 2, Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Number 3, the stock market. And yes, the stock market. Because it will just inflate along with the money supply. It's not going to go down. It's just going to keep going up. And 4th, your job. Because there's cost of living allowance. Yeah, as inflation starts to hyperinflate, your wage will rise accordingly. Yeah. So this is going to wipe out everybody. But if you have some Bitcoin as insurance, you are going to wake up one morning and Bitcoin going to be $1 trillion per Bitcoin. Right? Now, will it buy anything? I cannot guarantee. Yeah? Because remember, a cup of coffee in Venezuela, $2 million. And by that time, that Bitcoin hit $1 trillion. When you go to Taco Bell, they will be handing your taco wrapped in $100 bill, because a napkin will be worth more than that $100 bill. Think about that. Let that go through your system. How will human beings react to seeing a taco, whatever it is, a taco in $100 bill handed to you? And you say, but there's $100 bill here. So yeah, a napkin costs more than that piece of paper. Think about that. Right? The shock you will have. But more importantly, what world will we live in when Bitcoin hits $1 trillion? When Bitcoin hits $1 million? What kind of world will we be living in? Yeah, think about it. When these imbeciles in the Federal Reserve, or these imbeciles that we elect into government, when they get together, it's a toxic brew. It's poison to humanity. And so will this situation. When you wake up that morning and Bitcoin breaks $1 trillion or hits $1 trillion, I have to ask you one question. What world will we be living in? Think about it. Okay, God bless you. Keep you safe. Bye-bye.